Well, hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Willie Lacalle, and today we got a little update for you guys on Polaris SL750. It's actually a 94 model. The first episode or first part of this video I tried to remember what it was, but yeah, I looked at the paperwork and it's a 94. So 94 SL750 Polaris, and whoa man, have we got some bad news here. So what was originally thought to be just having to go in and retorque our cylinder and retorque our head and install the battery and broom broom broom, well that was a pipe dream, let me tell you. First thing I did, and we'll kind of go through everything I did here. First thing I did, well, what the problem is, well, it should be pretty obvious at this point, but the problem is it's seized up, right? So I thought, man, before I put the battery in here, let me see if this thing will turn around. I tried pushing the cylinders in, you know, and that should have done it. That should have turned just from taking the, I'm sorry, I meant piston, with the top off, the head off of the PTO cylinder. I tried pushing in the piston and it didn't go anywhere. It should have, you know, had some kind of movement to it. So the next thing I did was I went down in the PTO shaft and I tried to turn it and it wouldn't turn. Well, at that point, you know, it's one of two things. It's either the motor or the pump itself. So I removed the pump, and here's the pump assembly, and the pump itself is locked up as well. So you know, I got a double whammy here. Doggone it, I want to play and now I gotta do a different kind of playing. So the motor is definitely seized up. Best I can tell, water got in there. I pulled off the intake manifold. Let me go ahead and take that off for you. I'll let you have a little peep in there. And as we do this, kind of get past this explanation, I'll show you how I did all what I've done. So basically, you're looking inside of the intake on each cylinder, and back in there is the reeds, and you can see all sorts of goops in there, rat turds. You know, I had this all three of these plugged up with shop rags, but this thing sat so long, you know, the mice had their way. You can see here's a little piece of shop rag, you know, which in their world makes perfect nesting material. So anyway, what this all tells me, and you know, the condition of what it looks like in here, is a bird's eye view of the inside with the motor out. You know, kind of what it tells me is that they probably got swamped somehow or full of water, at least past this line here, and got in. And I'm assuming that, well, it had to be up at this point because the manifold was on and the bolts were on tight. So, you know, water got inside the motor and seized it up. And it may not be the case. Once I get these reeds out of here, I might see perfectly clean in there. But, you know, luckily, they had no way into the motor, mice-wise, or mud daubers, wasps, and all that kind of nonsense. So hopefully, you know, our reeds acted as filters and nothing got past there, and really all I got to do is soak this thing in oil, and oh yeah, I'm not done. This is a major challenge. You know, this is fun stuff right here. I'm gonna get this puppy going, and y'all are gonna see it out on the water. And man, I'm going out on a limb saying that, but you know, I've rebuilt it before. It's not that difficult. Just time consuming. It's taken me 3 days of, you know, a couple hours before work every day to tear it apart to this point. And you know, let's kind of go through the steps of what we did. So, you know, I told you what I've done so far to figure it out. So the first thing I did was take off the muffler, or the water pipe. You know, you call it whatever you want. Took off this silencer, muffler, this water exhaust pipe. You know, those 4 bolts were already loose. I just had to take them off, and This is held on with the strap, a couple straps, a couple hoses, and we'll get to the pump here in a minute. Then I came up front and I took out the fuel tank. Here's the fuel tank. I was expecting it to be pretty dirty, and yeah, it doesn't look so bad. Let's see if I can give you a shot in there. There's an interesting thing is those are the filter or the tips off of the hoses that fell off of the reserve and fuel hose system. I pulled out the fuel lever system. I rebuilt this thing last time and got it working. It works good, or it did, when I was using it. And that would go in this way. And then the other thing would be the hose up front. Disconnect it. And I had to take the oil tank loose, pull it out in order to get the tank out. Now, as I said before, I've plugged off the oil mix system, the gear that goes in there. I did that last time I rebuilt it. But so you're asking, why then, Willie, do you still have this oil tank in there? Well, very simply because these hot shots designed it to be part of the spring system. So if you don't, which I'll probably end up doing, is what I'm going to explain here. If you don't want this thing in here, right, you can eliminate it by making a bracket that comes straight across here and has this fit right here, so that your spring, which holds the door, right, this part right here, keep your door up, the front door. So basically, the reason I kept the oil tank in there is to be able to use the latch for the door. I guess you can make another kind of latch if you want, or whatever, or you could just leave it in there. And then the other question is, well, Willie, how did you keep the sensor and all that? Oh, I guess that's inside. We'll get to that next time I pull this thing out. I'll show you what I did. I tie wrapped the little float up, and if I remember correctly, inside the ECM or the control head, I soldered a resistor, and I'm going to say 500 ohms off the top of my head, but I don't remember correctly. It's been a long time. I've slept since then, a few days. So once we got the fuel tank out, which by the way is extremely clean, I'm going to flush it out, get some of that crap out of there, but for the most part it's pretty clean. I'm happy with that. We're a long ways from playing with gas tank though. So once I did that, I pulled the water pipe out this way. While I was at it, I went ahead and removed the two front mounts for the motor. I had to take I tried pulling, well, I took the back two bolts off the motor. I tried to pull the motor out, basically I stood up here and did it. It's not that heavy. It's a little awkward, you got to find your groove and find your place of holding it. And once I pulled it up, I realized that either the exhaust water manifold had to come off, the exhaust manifold had to come off, or the intake. So the intake's already loose. I just popped it off and put it back on. And by the way, I'm gonna put this back on here because the way things work out, these bolts are pretty delicate and anything can happen. This thing can fall, can lean over, I can have a little oopsie, and then things just got more complicated than they need to be. So there, just pop that back on. It's held on with 1, 2, 3, 4, well actually it's held on with 8, 2, 4, 6, and 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 on the bottom, and then these bolts right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are nuts, these are bolts. So okay, next thing I did, I popped it up here, and when I did, 2, 3 things were holding it. That's where your ground wire goes. All right, ground wire. Then I had the positive battery wire to the starter. And then the only other thing keeping it from coming out right now is the stator wiring. So, you know, once all the stator wiring comes out, which you have, you know, two choices. Last time I pulled it out of inside the box. You know, you open up the box, you trace these wires back in there, and you pull this part off and you disconnect them. If I remember correctly, they're held in there with little terminals. Just kind of pop them off. So yeah, that's it. That's where we're at. You know, it's not what I wanted to show y'all. I really want to show y'all, you know, putting this battery in and, you know, drinking Diet Dr. Pepper along the way maybe, and tightening the bolts and torquing them to, you know, whatever foot-pounds, inches, newtons, whatever it was. I don't remember. Didn't even look it up because, you know, that's not where we're going right now. But we will soon enough. So, all right, Willie, what's Wet Willie's plans now? Okay, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. So, at this point, let's start over here with the pump, which I didn't explain how I got out. So, the pump has 4 bolts. This is on here. This goes on here like this. So, on the top, you got a little bar right here that goes through. Got a cotter pin. You know, pull the cotter pin out. I'm sorry, that goes right here. And then here's 2 bolts. One bolt holds this in place for the linkage that drives it this way, and this is the one that drives it up and down. Your trim, and then, you know, four bolts, and this comes out. I would suggest not taking this out. You know, if you're taking out your pump, because that's a good little leverage place for you to hold on to break it loose. So you see these 3 areas right here, they go through the hole. So there's a hose on here, a hose on here, and on the inside there's a hole. This section right here has a hose on it as well. So those would be these hoses right here. Right, those 3 little holes down there. 1, 2, 3. So big black hose goes in there on the top one, and these little hoses go down here on the bottom. So basically what this is an aspiration type system that is used through the pump to you know, use as your bilge pump. You know, kind of funky and cheap and cheesy, but man, it's effective. Trust me, I've left the plug. Well, I haven't. Of course, I'm too sharp to do something like that. But we've had people take a jet ski out and, you know, get a few feet from the boat and put it in the water, and oh man, it's starting to sink. You know, and what I tell them is drive it to the ramp, and by the time they get to the ramp, most of that water's out, and then, you know, we stick the plug in there, get it up on the trailer, get the rest of the water out, run it, and there you go. So anyway, it's an effective little cheap non-electric aspiration type submergible hose way of acting like a bilge pump. And all right, once you've done all that, sorry, I had something biting me on my arm there. All right, you take these 4 nuts right here off, and you just pull. It won't break loose right freely, so I took these 2x4s here and you know, stick it in the side and kind of bang it around a little bit, and it'll break loose. Once it breaks loose, the whole thing comes out. Main thing is don't lose patience, and remember that those hoses right there, once you get to the point where it's in and out like that, you'll realize that, oh man, what's holding me up? And you'll think it's the shaft, and it's not. It's those hoses over there. Get those hoses broke loose, and, you know, the whole thing comes out. So back to what our plan is. So, man, I keep grabbing that bad boy by the greasy shaft. Alright, so, you know, as you can see, it's not turning, it's locked up. I believe that I can stick all this in oil and break it loose, or diesel. So I'm going to take me a 5-gallon bucket. I'm going to put some I'm going to submerge that pump inside the 5-gallon bucket, and I'm going to pour diesel oil all in it, and we're going to see what happens. You know, maybe first I'll go with some WD-40 and just kind of spray it in there. But really, I believe submersing that is going to do it. And as far as the motor goes, well, I'm going to again take this intake. I'm going to get this somewhere where I can work on it. I'm going to first of all figure out where, you know, what I'm going to do with these lines. This time I'm thinking I might take the whole box out and the line and, you know, set it on the bench and work on it that way. And if I have to do a total breakdown, then maybe I'll take the wires off. If not, then, you know, I'll get in the box and I'll remove the wires from the box, and then I have just the motor and the wiring with open ends, which is what I did last time. I'm looking at this ceiling job I did last time when I rebuilt it. Not very pretty, but you know what? It never leaked. So, you know, that's what a farm boy ceiling job looks like. And yeah, it was effective. So again, back to my plan. I'll get it on the bench. I'll take the intake manifold off again. I'll take those reeds out and I'll take a peep in there. If man, and I'm gonna start thinking on the negative side here, because every time I've made a little plan on the positive side, it's gone the other way. So I'm gonna assume that, you know, it's all crazy in there and rusted and all that, and well, at that point I'll fill it up with some diesel and let it sit for a few days or a week, or, you know, however long it takes till this PTO shaft starts turning. And you know, it should. That'll definitely break it loose if it's just rust and, you know, been sitting for a while. Locked up in terms of operational, something broke, that's not the case. I know that, right? Because all I did was replace the piston, and then it sat for 10 years or however long it's been. Been a long time, maybe longer than 10 years. So, you know, it could be just the rings are seized up. You know, on the simple side, it's as simple as that. On the rougher side, well, you know, the water did get in it, and everything's rusted, and, you know, depending just how bad that rust is, it might loosen up, and it'll work. You know, we'll see what it sounds like, what it feels like, and then make some decisions from there. You know, worst situation, so the easiest situation is it's going to break loose and it's going to be fine. The worst situation is I'm going to have to split it and, you know, go all through it the inside. At possibly worst, the crank, you know, is all rusted and funky looking, bearings and blah blah blah. You know, maybe I'll get a new crank. If that's not the case, then you know, maybe it's just well, you know, all this is just assumptions. So let me quit assuming and kind of move on forward. Now I'm a little bit of a predicament here because I don't really have a good, comfortable, dry place to work on this thing. You know, it's beautiful outside. It's hot. I got lots of shady areas. You know, I got my trusty little washer over here that I can work on top of. I also have a bench inside the barn over there, but right now my Vortex short shaft to long shaft conversion of my trolling motor for my pontoon boat is happening over there, which I haven't finished up, which for those of y'all that are waiting for that video, it's coming. I just have to get back to it. I've got all the parts here. I just need to finish it up. So one more thing, I did pour oil in all three of these cylinders. You know, I'm thinking that, well, we'll give that a first try, which usually a good first try, and see if the pistons will come loose. I've been known to make a little automatic transmission fluid and motor oil concoction and put it in a ketchup bottle or mustard bottle and pour it down in there and let it soak for a week, and you know, that's worked before. So, you know, there's lots of options. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this thing short here, and you know, give you another view. That's all the stuff that was in the front storage area. There's that 3 output fuel pump. Again, this is everything that we've removed so far, and it all fits in here pretty nicely, so I'm happy about that. I can just close it up, and not that keeping it out of the elements is all that important to me now, but it is. And you know, no need to expose it to any more than it has to. One good little tip is get you an old towel and, you know, put it up on this on the side of your jet ski while you're working, so that you don't get all that fiberglass rash on you. And here's another look at inside, and you know what we got going on and what it looks like in there. I mentioned that this thing was leaking when I left it parked on the if I left it sitting straight on the water at night or during the day, I would get no water in there. But if I pulled the front end up on the bank and it was kind of sitting, you know, at an angle, like you would if you beached it, the next morning I go in there and, you know, I'd have water all in here, and that's part of the assumption of what caused the problem in the first place. So, you know, I'm trying to figure out how in the heck am I getting water in there. So there's only a couple possibilities, and you know, that's through the pump shaft, which you know, that's always been dry, and that would be very obvious. So I'm thinking more in terms of you know, maybe one of these 3 lines right here. I don't know. I'm still kind of baffled. Maybe up through here. That's a good possibility. That's probably where it's coming from, is through my trim motor. So, you know, while I have it down, I'm gonna get the motor out of there completely, and like I said, and then I'm gonna take this thing and pressure wash it and get all that good old mouse nesting material out of there, and the oil and the goop, and you know, kind of go from there, little by little. So I'll keep you all updated. I appreciate y'all watching. If you got you a jet ski and you know, you're in the middle of rebuilding it, man, I wish you the best of luck. I appreciate all the comments I've gotten so far. Any questions, just keep shooting them my way. I may not have all the answers, but you know, I've been through this rodeo a few times with several jet skis, and well, that's kind of how it goes. You know, if you're going to own one of these, you're going to pay somebody big bucks and get taken to the bank, or you know, you're going to learn how to do it yourself, and at the end of the day, it feels good to be riding and knowing that you're the one that made it happen, and you saved a lot of money. So alrighty, y'all have a good day. A little shot of our chickens before we go. There's our International 1586 150 horsepower tractor. And alright, thanks for watching. YouTube, thank you for coming to my channel. Willie La Calle. Have a great day. Wet Willie, Wet Willie. Wet Willie's gonna see the water again.